So we'll do that, and we'll also do some new things. First, our school startup work and our support for leadership pipelines will prioritize the growth of new and different models that aspire to bring communities together across old and we think arbitrary boundaries. We'll do more to seek out leaders with ideas for how a new school can transcend difference by recruiting demographically diverse student bodies. We'll pursue partners eager to put aside tired lines between district and charter schools to do what's best for children. And that means supporting more innovative district leaders willing to partner with charter operators like we've done in this year, over the past year, in Indianapolis and Atlanta. We'll also invest more aggressively earlier in the leadership pipeline with organizations proven to recruit the best educators and leaders to open new schools. Organizations like Camelback Ventures and 4.0 Schools. And we'll grow our support for teachers and entrepreneurs of color, working to break down barriers that too often keep these educators, these emerging entrepreneurs and change leaders from opening and improving schools. We'll ask schools to hold all students to the highest standards and support educators who are designing schools that help our most vulnerable students, who are, as we know, far too often left behind, reach their full potential. And finally, we'll support the innovators, the fresh thinkers with ideas about what schools should look like that are so fundamentally different from how school looks today. These innovators will push all of us to think more creatively and to dream bigger. All of this, more proven schools, new models, deeper pipelines with a commitment to diversity, will take deeper fellowship with partners old and new. This is a vision of success, one in which every child receives an education that prepares him or her for success in college, career, and life, that calls for people and organizations to work together to build systems that allow great schools of all types to grow and thrive. The need is greater than any one person or funder or organization. That's why strong policy, especially at the state level, is so important. And that's why we look to governors and mayors and lawmakers, whom we hope will follow the lead of so many other elected officials that have enacted strong policies over the last year. These policies do the simple work of getting bureaucracy out of the way of school and putting the needs of children and families first. A vision like this is also a pipe dream without deep partnership with other funders. We, Walton, cannot do it alone, and we're enormously grateful for the enduring partnership we've enjoyed with a number of peer funders. We are committed also to working with the next generation of funders from whom we have so much to learn. The late John Walton, for whom this work, the shared work of this room, was such a profound passion, testified in Congress in 1999, the year before the very first National Charter Schools Conference. He said, and I want to quote, "This is not a political issue. This work of education is an issue about children. It is an issue about empowering parents. You are empowering that parent to send their child where they think they'll receive the best education." Nearly 3 decades later, I'll tell you what has changed in the way the Walton family sees that imperative. Not one thing. Thank you for the vital work that you do. I'm deeply optimistic about what comes next. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mark, for those wonderful remarks. I want to share with you something personal that relates to what all of us have been doing. And that is that 50 years ago, Latinos had really no hope for getting an education or going to college. And this was dramatically turned around by the actions of high school students in East Los Angeles who walked out of LA City schools protesting the terrible education the lack of possibility that existed in their lives. And this is the 50th anniversary of that momentous event that changed the course, at least for Chicanos and Latinos in this country, creating the possibility that they could also dream and do something with their lives. 50 years ago, just a few days ago, I was released from jail for having been indicted for being one of the organizers of those walkouts, and I faced 45 years in jail. Spent 3 years on trial, indicted again a year later for again organizing protests. Happily, the First Amendment is being honored more today than it was 50 years ago. But we still have challenges, and that's what we're all here to do, and we still have dreams to realize. One of the persons who is an extraordinary example of that is the person who I'm about to introduce, Dr. Bernard Harris. Dr. Harris is a veteran astronaut who has logged nearly 450 hours and traveled over 7 million miles in space, and holds the distinction of being the first African American to complete a spacewalk. But not only is a former astronaut, Dr. Harris is a physician who completed his residency in internal medicine at the Mayo Clinic. He is a licensed private pilot. He's certified to scuba dive, and he is an author of Dreamwalker, a journey of achievement and inspiration. Clearly, when Dr. Harris dreams, he dreams big. Today, Dr. Harris serves as the Chief Executive Officer of the National Math and Science Initiative, headquartered here in Texas. The National Math and Science Initiative is a nonprofit whose mission is to increase students' access and achievement in rigorous math, science, and English courses. Through engaging programs that are rooted in local partnership, they are nationally recognized for providing programs proven to benefit students, teachers, schools, and the communities in 40 states and the District of Columbia. It is with a great honor for me personally that I welcome Dr. Harris to the stage.
Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy.
I bet you guys thought I was going to come out with walk-up music like the 2001 The Space Odyssey, you know, that music that plays like that. And I decided to do something a little bit different and to do something that was more kind of akin to who I am, and I'll come back to that in a minute. I would be remiss if I did not thank Nina and her staff for bringing me here to speak to you today about something that's dear to my heart, and that is dreaming and education. When I look at education as a way in which we can empower those dreams. So I think the topic that you have for your conference is certainly appropriate. So what am I going to talk about? Of course, I'm an astronaut, got to talk a little bit about space. But more importantly, I want to talk about why I think it's important for you to be meeting today and changing how we educate our kids. The innovative charter programs that you have across the country. But let me go back to why I chose happy. I chose happy because of this. When I was young, growing up, I was telling the folks backstage that I actually grew up, born in Texas, but actually grew up on the Navajo Indian Reservation because my mom was an educator and she worked for the Bureau of Indian Affairs out there. And it was out there that I would look up at the heavens and see this view of space. And as I looked at those lights, I would wonder, were some of those lights, planets? Were some of those other stars? Were some of those other galaxies? And I actually love this particular photo because, believe it or not, if you ever find yourself in an area where you have no light pollution and you're able to look out and look up in the heavens and just, if you could, look up and just draw like a square inch. And imagine in that square inch is this photo that I'm showing you right now. And in that represents millions of stars, hundreds of galaxies. And just imagine if you turn around and look 360 degrees and realize that in every point of space, there's this type of stars and lights and planets that fulfill it. So I'm happy about that. This happiness led me to fall in love with the space program. In 1969, we landed on the moon. And when Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin landed on the moon, and those fabulous words, one small step, one giant step for mankind, it was a giant leap for this little boy to look at the heavens and want to follow in their footsteps. That was 1969. So what's happening now? We have a space station that's up, where we have astronauts, about 6 or 7 of them there, 24/7, 365 days a year. There are plans just recently announced to go back to the moon and then perhaps even go to Mars. What's next? What next is we have companies, not just governments, that are interested in building the next generation space shuttle. And so we have people like Elon Musk with SpaceX and Jeff Bezos with Blue Horizon and the Boeing Corporation. All are looking for better ways in which to get us into low Earth orbit, to get us to the space station and beyond. But as an astronaut, I'm not only worried about what's up in space, I'm also worried about what we're doing here on Earth. And what's happening here on Earth? Well, over the last 10 years or so, we've had companies like Google and Microsoft and LinkedIn and, of course, that famous Twitter that our president is making very famous these days. We've had the advent of the iPhone and the iPad that has brought about just new imaginings, new apps, which allows us to not only do financial things, but to do medical things. In fact, you know, I'm a medical doctor and involved in telemedicine. We do that on these devices. And then I asked myself, then, what's next? Well, you probably heard about Bitcoin. And Bitcoin has started things, us talking about things like blockchain, and then there's AI and artificial intelligence, natural language processing, disruptive technologies of all the like. And with all of that, sort of setting the stage for this afternoon's talk, I ask you this question. Are we and our students and our youth, our children, prepared for that future, in essence, that now? So as I poll that question, I want you to think about it during the rest of my presentation, because I'm going to ask you that question again, and we're going to do a poll to see how this audience fares on this question. But now I want to turn my attention to some other questions. And those are questions that I get as an astronaut. Dr. Harris, you've been in space. What was it like to travel in space? You've been an astronaut. Have you seen any aliens in space? And I have to say no, but some of the astronauts that I fly with are kind of strange. And then probably the question I get asked most, whether it's a 5-year-old or a 65-year-old, is how do you go to the bathroom in space? I don't know what it is about that question, but everybody wants to know about those bodily functions. And so I'm not going to talk about that at all. But I do want to spend a few minutes talking with you and sharing with you my experience of blasting in space. In fact, that's probably the real reason why you invited me to come this evening, is to give you the experience of what it's like to travel in space. Again, in this slide, you'll see the original 7. Those were the astronauts that were initially selected by the space program. And you notice something about this slide that's a little different than this slide here, which is a slide of my class. Well, the big deal, of course, it's in color. And what I mean by that, there are Latinos. You can applaud that. There are Latinos, Hispanics, African Americans, Asians, women in this class. More importantly. And so in 1990, I applied to the Astronaut Corps and was accepted. There were 23 of us, and this is a picture of us. We spent about 2 years doing basic training, and then we get prepared to go into space, and I want to share with you that experience. Before we actually get in the vehicle and we start our training, we get together and we create a patch, which is an insignia of the mission. And you'll see that here on the right side of the slide, and you'll notice that there is an American and Russian flag because we were the first shuttle to go to the Russian space station. You'll notice that there is a depiction of the Russian station and then the space shuttle for that. And in the slide is the symbol for the mission number, and here's your first or your second question for today, and that is the mission number is 63, and I would like you to take a look at this patch and see if you can find the symbol for the 6 and 3. And when you see it, or yell it out if you would. 3 stars. That's right. And 6 rays of the sun. Well, you know, that's all well and good, but you know the most important thing about this patch is that it has my name on it right there. So let's go to space. We're going to do a quick little countdown here. And I told the guy to turn it up so you can really get the feel for what it's like to blast off.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You feel that for us?
Liftoff. We have liftoff. Houston now controlling. Houston shuttle, roll program. Roger, roll maneuver. Already 7 miles away from the Kennedy Space Center at an altitude of 5 miles.
So people always want to know what it's like to be inside of that. Well, I have to tell you that when those engines light, you're leaving this planet and nothing's going to hold you to it. It's an incredible ride. As you get pushed back and you see about 3 times your weight, so 3 Gs. And within 1 or 2 minutes, we reach an altitude of 100,000 feet, and that's this point that they just showed on the slide where we drop off the solid rocket motors, we actually recover those, and then we go on into space. Another 6.5 minutes, we get safely locked in orbit, and then we drop off the external tank. You'll see the shuttle, kind of winding off of that tank as the tank falls back into the atmosphere and burns up on the way in. So if you were doing your math, that was a total of 8.5 minutes. In that 8.5 minutes, we go from being pushed back in our seat to 3.5 times our weight. So I weigh around 225 pounds and increasing. So you multiply that times 3.5, and you get to, about 1,000 pounds is what the force feels like under the liftoff. So we go from that force to 0 gravity in a split second, and everything floats. It was just incredible to have that first experience up there. And then I love this slide. This was the first photo that I took on my first mission out the cargo bay window. And you can see that we fly upside down to the Earth, and you can see the sun in the background, but more importantly, you'll see that the Earth is indeed round for you Flat Earth Society members who are left out there. So let me share with you our crew. So on the left side of the slide here is the crew on the ground. And you'll notice that we have 2 suits, our launch and entry suits. The suits we go into space and come from space, they weigh 125 pounds. Those are the orange ones. And the suits at the top are our EVA suits. Those are used to do our spacewalk, and they weigh 350 pounds. Take a look at our faces, if you would, and then flip over to the right, and you'll notice that our eyes get a little puffy and that get a little narrow. You'll notice a person, and let me identify Eileen Collins, who was the first female pilot and commander of the Space Shuttle mission. She is the young lady right below me. Look at her hair before, and look at her hair after. She developed an instant afro. Now, I'm running out of time, but I think with this audience, I definitely have to share this story. Would you mind, can I share one little story with you? So it has to do with the other female astronaut that's in this photo, and her name is Janice Voss. And Janice is a physicist, very smart young lady. And I was in the mid-deck. We have 2 decks. We have a flight deck where we control the vehicle, and then we have the mid-deck where it's kind of our living spaces and our experimental spaces. And one day I was working on an experiment, and she comes floating in right next to me, and she reaches into her locker, which is her clothing locker, and she pulls out a shirt, and she hangs the shirt in the air. Remember, we're in space, so it can just hang there. And then she commenced to pulling her shirt out of the pants in which she was wearing, and she started putting her hand up here and toward the front part of her chest. And okay, guys in the audience, what guy will ignore a woman if she's got her hands up the front part of her chest? So I turned to her and I said, "What are you doing?" And she says, very kindly, in sort of, stoically, I don't know what the right words are, but imagine this. As her hand came from underneath her shirt, she had her bra in her hand, and she released it for effect. And you can imagine these words as the bra was going end over end: "I do not need that up here." And I realized in that moment, with all of these darn degrees that I have, that I didn't know what a bra was. It's an anti-gravity device. And so are the chairs in which you're sitting in, so are the pillows, so are the mattresses, and like, okay, that's the only story I'm going to tell. Okay, let me stay on topic here. So the puffiness in the face, let me just explain that, comes from a fluid shift. As you're sitting here, about 1/5 of your blood volumes in your lower extremity held down there by gravity. When you go into space, that floats up toward your head. That extra fluid gets in the tissues of the face, and it causes your face to swell. It causes a swelling in the brain. That is now causing some issues with our international crew, with them developing blind spots in space, about 30% of the crew, because of that increase in intracranial pressure. We also lose 1% of bone per month, 15% of our muscle mass, and all of those medical, physiological changes occur because we have taken the big G out of the equation of physiology and everything that we do up there. And you know, all that physiology stuff, you know what I call that? As a medical doctor, job security. So here's me examining one of our crew members. Here is me, actually a photo that I took when we went to the Mir space station. And you'll see the guy who spent the most time in space ever, 422 days, who happens to be another physician, Dr. Polenikov. And you'll see a view from about 1.5 miles from the International Space Station. As you heard in my introduction, that I did a spacewalk. This is us in the airlock, and then a couple of photos with us hanging out in space, which is kind of cool. I have another one that I show because they said I only had 20 minutes. So I didn't get to show all of that. But it was beautiful. If I had showed it, you would be going, whoa. How about this one? It's kind of cool. So this is Aurora Borealis from space. And just a couple of other photos. I wanted to show you daytime and nighttime at the same time. And that is the slide that's there to your right, lower right. You'll see again Aurora Borealis, and you'll see a dust storm in the upper left, which is coming off the Sahara Desert. And that dust storm is up to 50,000 feet. That dust will go completely over the Atlantic Ocean and dump here in the Americas. And then one of the most beautiful views of the Mir space station as we are getting for our close approach. Now, I mentioned, let's see if we can get this to work. If I press the right button, we can. So it was mentioned earlier that I had traveled 400 and something miles and traveled 7.2 million miles. How do I do that? It's because we go awfully fast, 17,500 miles an hour. And at 17,500 miles an hour, we can go around the world every 90 minutes. We get to see a sunset or sunrise every 45 minutes. And what I'd like to show you right now is a sunrise from space. And at the end of this, I want everybody to say, wow. And in the time that it took those slides to cycle through and for me to take that sip of water, that is how fast the sun rises. And the temperature will go from, wait a minute, hang on. The temperature will go from a minus 165 degrees to 200 degrees Fahrenheit in that period of time. Now you can go, wow. All right, thank you very much. Now, let's talk some serious stuff if I can. Let's go back to this question. Here's a poll. How many of you think that we and our youth are prepared for this future, for this now? Let me see a show of hands if I can. All right. Okay, just a few. How many think that we are not prepared? Raise your hand. Okay. Well, that's why I'm here. That's why I run the National Math and Science Initiative. That's why I think that you guys, all of you, are running these innovative charters all over the country. We have to prepare our kids now for jobs that don't exist today. If you think about it, 15 years ago, there was no such thing as Facebook or Twitter or, any of these things that our kids are involved in. We didn't have the iPhone and the iPads, and just think about that. So we have to prepare them, and that means that they have to have this baseline of education in which STEM is at the heart of it. And so that's what we do in the Math and Science Initiative. When I look at those things that are important for us to teach our kids, I guess this statement is something that I believe is true, that no matter what job that they're going to be involved in, it's going to involve STEM. Because we are in a technology-driven society, a technology-driven world that is not going to change. It's just going to get even worse. And if our kids are not prepared, then they won't get the good jobs. And I know I'm speaking to the choir here, but you know that STEM jobs are high-paying jobs. And so if we want to do all our communities justice, we got to make sure that embodied in the education that you are providing, that it involves STEM. So how do we do that? We do that by producing scalable solutions for both CMOs and individual charters. We do that by creating innovative ways in which to take the technology and lessons and education to where the kids are utilizing technology. Not only teaching technology, but utilizing technology. We must be advocates for STEM. We must provide teacher training and support and school support and the resources that are necessary for that, and develop a way in which to distribute best practices out there so that we can enhance learning across all of the campuses in which you serve. So it is a challenge. It's a STEM challenge. And NIMSY actually started 10 years ago with a challenge from the National Academy of Sciences, where they did a study, and it was chaired by the chairman of the ExxonMobil Foundation and the chairman of Intel, and they brought together experts from all over, and they came to the conclusion that the United States was not ready, that we were not prepared, and that if we weren't prepared, then there would be a gathering storm that would hit this country in which we have to resolve. And so that preparation involves STEM, math and science. That preparation involved preparing our kids for technology innovations, technological innovations, of a way in which to upgrade how we teach, how we educate, and how we educate our teachers to teach more STEM. And so NIMSY was started. Our mission is very plain. We are here to serve all students, especially those furthest from opportunities. And those are the students that I know that you're part of addressing. And so we have 3 primary programs in which we use, and if you haven't figured it out, this is my commercial. And the first is our college readiness program, which is our way in which to scale the AP, so provide AP training into schools. We also have a program called Laying the Foundation, which provides K through 12 professional development for your teachers, so keep us in mind. And then lastly, we are also involved in the teacher pipeline. And since we're in Austin, Texas, our leading program is called You Teach, which was developed right here at the University of Texas, and now is in 44 universities across the nation. So in that 10 years, we have done a lot. We have served over 1,200 schools. We've educated over 1.5 million students, 44 universities I talked about, and we also have done a lot in terms of teacher preparation. And just a sort of case and study of one of the programs, the AP. I'm sure that this audience know that kids who take AP courses do better. They're better prepared for college. and they're better prepared to go into those fields that we're talking about. And in the schools in which we have served, we've seen remarkable gains in the Latino, Hispanic, and African American population. And I just wanted a couple of slides here to end just to sort of show you this is the improvement in AP scores after just 1 year, and this across all of our school types. And then we also work with a number of charters over the last few years, and this is data from 30 of our charter schools where, again, you see the significant improvement in those AP scores. So that's what we're about. The students recognize what we're able to do. The teachers recognize what we're able to do. And certainly, we hope that during the course of this conference and after my keynote and knowing what we do as an organization, that you also will recognize what we're doing. I'll end with this slide. Ain't I cute? Wasn't I cute? I don't know what happened and all that sort of thing. But I put this slide in here to remind us that our responsibility is not only to make sure that we deliver a high-quality education, and in our case, a high-quality STEM education, but that we enable our kids to dream. Because that's where it started for me as a kid looking at the space program, which set me on the road on the educational gauntlet that allowed me to go into space, become a medical doctor, and be here today to address you. It's about making sure that they feel empowered. Now, this is a poster that I take around with me, especially when I talk to kids and try to inspire them. And it says, for those who can't see it in the back, that I am an infinite being with infinite possibilities. And what that means is that these kids, well, you know, before I do that, I know I've run out of time. I got 0 on my clock. Can you give me 1 more minute? I want to do something with you if I can. What I do with the kids is I have them repeat this, and I love this audience, so I know you guys are going to do real well. So what I do is I have the kids stand up, and I'm not going to have you stand up. You can just sit there, and I tell them to repeat after me. So I'm going to ask you to do that, if you would. Would you repeat after me? I'm an infinite being with infinite possibilities. I think it's about 2,000 of you here, and that did not move me at all. So I want you to say it, and let's rock the house here. I'm an infinite being with infinite possibilities. Good. So let me tell you what that means. That means that each and every one of you in this room and the students in which you serve are born multi-potential with the ability to do anything that they can do in life, they want to do in life. It means that they are born multi-talented with certain talents that are uniquely theirs, and they can use something called a brain that allows them to learn other talents and other skills. That's what we are about in helping them learn those skills and abilities. And more importantly, and this is a message that I think needs to go to all of our kids, especially the kids in which you serve, is that they were born for a reason, that there is a reason that they are here. And when you can applaud to that. And when you make them realize that, no matter where they come from, of that possibility, of that infiniteness, then you do more help for them. You help the rest of the world, because what they're going to bring to the table will change the world. And what we get out of it is that we had a stake in enabling them, and as in your theme, empower them to dream big. I want to thank you for your time this evening, this afternoon. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth.
What are we? Infinite beings with infinite possibility. Dr. Harris, thank you very much. More inspirational, I cannot imagine. Thank you. And now on behalf of the National Alliance, I'm excited to introduce you to the 2018 Charter School Hall of Fame inductees. This year, We are honoring 3 schools and their leaders. They are Washington U. Ying Public Charter School and its head of school, Makita Alexander. Camino Nuevo Academy and the network CEO, Ana Ponce. And Texas' very own Idea Public Schools and its founder, Joanne Gama and Tom Turkelson. I see he brought a cheering section. In just a moment, we'll share you the videos that highlight each of our winners and allow them to come forward to accept their awards. But first, I want to step back and share more about this award and what it recognizes. Established in 2007, the National Charter School Hall of Fame honors individuals and organizations that have pioneered the development and growth of charter schools, implemented innovative ideas, and inspired others in the movement. Our class of 2018 will join 35 previous winners, including a few in the audience today. 2017 winner Greg Richmond from National Association of Charter Schools. And Caprice Young, CEO and Superintendent of Magnolia Public Schools. And so now we're going to play a video.
Washington U. Ying was founded in 2008 by a small group of parents who believe all DC children have the right to a quality education that opens doors to their future. U. Ying is an international baccalaureate primary school and the only Chinese immersion pre-K in Washington, D.C. Recognized by Public School Review, U. Ying is considered to be one of the most diverse schools not only in D.C., but in the country. Executive Director Makita Alexander was a parent drawn to the school for its global mindset. As a career educator, Makita knew what good education should look and sound like, and she wanted to make a difference for all DC students, not just her own. At U. Ying, Makita and other school leaders foster a community of learners who are confident in their ability to read, write, and think in both Chinese and English. Academically, U. Ying is a Tier 1 high-performing school, and student assessment results were among the highest of all DC public school students. But equally important is the school's focus on culture, outdoor learning and exercise, and fun. Congratulations, U. Ying and Makita Alexander, 2018 Hall of Fame inductee.
I'm taking my freedom, pulling it off the shelf, putting it on my chain, wearing it around my neck. I'm taking my freedom.
Good afternoon. I am deeply honored to be inducted into the Charter School Hall of Fame. To Nina and the National Alliance of Public Charter Schools, thank you so much for this award. I am humbled to be among pioneers like my dear friend, Linda Moore, and other Washingtonians, such as Joe Baker and Jack McCarthy. I thank each public leader, board member, advocate, funder, and authorizer, because it takes all of us working together to fight for quality education for all of our students. I'm also extremely excited to have the privilege to represent our school, Washington U. Ying Public Charter School today. U. Ying is the only Chinese immersion international baccalaureate primary years program in DC. We serve 580 students, pre-K to 5th grade, from all over the district. U. Ying opened in the fall of 2008 with 128 students, pre-K to 1st grade. The school was founded by a small group of parents who wanted to create a space where students receive an international education and learn Mandarin Chinese. I am also representing those parents, those 12 founders who spent countless hours on an idea that was turned into an incredible reality through their hard work and tenacity. I serve an organization that is comprised of educators, innovators, collaborators, and caring professionals who are dedicated to U. Ying's mission. We inspire and prepare young people to create a better world by challenging them to reach their full potential in a nurturing Chinese and English educational environment. Today, U. Ying is recognized as a top-performing school in DC, and our diversity is a key to our success. We have one of the most racially and ethnically diverse schools in the nation. 10% Asian, 34% African American, 31% white, 19% biracial, and 5% Hispanic. We are expanding opportunities and opening doors for all children because at Ying, students learn to think, speak, read, and write in 2 languages, English and Mandarin Chinese. Thank you. At Ying, we provide an engaging, inquiry-driven Chinese-English dual language immersion environment to nurture tomorrow's future global leaders. We emphasize social responsibility. It's the importance of taking action. It's a part of everything we do. We consider critical thinking, curiosity, and collaborative practice essential tools that our students will need to be successful in a future, like Dr. Harris said, where most of the jobs don't exist yet. And I do this work because I believe in the power of education. I'm a 4th-generation teacher. My great-grandmother taught in a 1-room schoolhouse in rural Nottoway County, Virginia. My mother and grandmother were also educators. My grandmother in Virginia, my mother in Philadelphia, and now in DC. She's actually a teacher at my school. Those 3 women passed on a love of their learning, their strength, and their commitment to their community. They passed it on to me. I'm here today because of educators like my ancestors, but also you. So many teachers, librarians, administrators along the way took an interest in a little girl who loved learning. So thank you for your vision, your passion, your dedication to our children. Thank you for not giving up when the work never seems to end. The stakes get so much higher and the rewards seem really low. I charge you to keep fighting the good fight for charter autonomy, funding equity, and quality education, especially the underserved. As the great Maya Angelou said, do the best you can until you know better, but then when you know better, you do better. So keep doing what you're doing, making a difference in the lives of our children. Thank you so much.
I'm taking my freedom, pulling it off the shelf, putting it on my chain, wearing it around my neck.
Camino Nuevo Charter Academy was founded in 1999 to create ladders to opportunity for students in an under-resourced Los Angeles neighborhood. Camino Nuevo, which means a new path, was built to serve the immigrant families which populate the community. Ana Ponce, the CEO of Camino Nuevo, is a fierce advocate of quality education for her students. As a daughter of Mexican immigrants and the first in her family to receive a college degree, she was determined to return to the neighborhood she grew up in to close the achievement gap. In 2011, Forbes magazine recognized her as one of the 7 top educators in the world. Ana and Camino Nuevo's other school leaders have created a school whose students are agents of social change and who are college-ready and college-bound. 99% of Camino Nuevo seniors graduate and 70% are accepted to 4-year colleges. Today, MacArthur Park has transformed into a safe, thriving neighborhood. Camino Nuevo Charter Academy, a network of 6 charter schools, and an early education center serving more than 3,600 students, have been a cornerstone of this change. Congratulations to Camino Nuevo and Ana Ponce, 2018 Hall of Fame inductees.
No tengo trono ni reina, ni nadie que me comprenda, pero sigo siendo el rey.
Buenas tardes. The intro is dedicated to my mother and to my brother who is here today. Thank you so much. I accept this recognition on behalf of Camino Nuevo Charter Academy and the many people who have contributed to making it the outstanding organization that it is today. Thank you to our families for trusting us, our students for working hard and enriching our lives every day, our staff for always believing in our students and their families and willing to go above and beyond, and the many amazing leaders who have had the courage to lead. And also to Heather McManus and Tammy Stanton, who are here to receive this award with me. I also want to thank our board, who have a steadfast belief that a rigorous and enriched education can change lives and break through the cycle of poverty. And I want to make a special tribute to Philip Lance, our founder, whose vision for a different kind of community school was born 18 years ago and continues to live on across our 8 campuses, touching the lives of thousands of students and their families every day in the greater MacArthur Park communities of Los Angeles. Like the lives of Stephen Colleen and his family. Stephen joined the CNCA family in 6th grade, the oldest son of Mexican immigrants, and first in his family to complete a college degree. His father started college in Mexico, but could not afford to finish, and migrated to the US, giving up on his dream, but not on his children's dream to achieve the American dream. I have known Stephen for over 10 years. He was the first student from Camino Nuevo to get into Middlebury College, my alma mater, and Bowdoin College. He decided on Bowdoin, and that was okay. Either way, I was proud of him and of yet another CNCA student pushing to create a counter-narrative of what success looks like for kids like him and kids like me. Stephen invited me, his former principal, and the board chair to his graduation. We humbly accepted the invitation because, in fact, it was an honor for us to be invited and to attend, not the other way around. We had the privilege to celebrate alongside his mother and his brother in May. His father was not able to travel during that time to celebrate with him. His dream deferred. Like Stephen, I would not be here today if it were not for those who support and inspire me every day to do this difficult work. Individuals who have loved and nurtured a 4-year-old undocumented Mexican immigrant girl to be who I am today. I thank my family, who is represented here today by my brother Alex, who is my rock, and the person who steps in to care for my son so I don't miss a beat in my professional career. My sister Maria, who put me through school, compromising her own education when we came to this country. And one of my biggest cheerleaders. My mentor and adopted mom, Noelle, who took me under her wings after a high school summer job placement program, taught me the work ethic I live by today, and exposed me to a bigger, broader world than I knew. And of course, to my son Joaquin, who keeps me grounded, whom I love dearly, hi, and is the constant reminder of the gross inequities that exist between children living in poverty and those living with privilege. Thank you for being here, and I love you. I also want to thank my mother, who is no longer with us, for loving me unconditionally, teaching me strength of character and determination. She brought me to this country for a better life. I know she is proud of me and from above is pushing me to do more for more children beyond K-12 education. I remember crossing the border 5 different ways and always with her or a loved family member. One time, I spent a night at a detention center with my tia Socorro. It was an absolutely horrible and humiliating experience. To this day, that 12 to 14-hour experience haunts me. I have a negative physical reaction when I pass by the detention center as I drive to and from Los Angeles to San Diego, every single time. This is after sharing the experience with a loved one who comforted me and even hugged me. What we are doing as a country in taking away the children from parents who are coming here to seek refuge is unconscionable and child abuse. We have to stop it. Let us not pretend we are not intentionally causing harm. We must do more than just say something. We have to act, and we have to vote. Let's not be bystanders to these atrocities. Thank you.
No tengo trono ni reina, ni nadie que me comprenda.
Top Torkelson and Joanne Gamma met as core members for Teach for America. Their passion to create better opportunities for students sparked their plan to co-found the first IDEA Academy. What began as a 2-year core commitment has grown into a network of dozens of high-performing IDEA public charter schools. Today, there are 61 IDEA schools in 5 regions of Texas, serving 36,000 students and families. This fall, IDEA will expand to its 6th region, open 18 more schools, and welcome more than 12,000 new students. IDEA Public Schools was launched with the core belief that not only is college achievable for all students, it's a gateway that can change the community. IDEA schools set the bar high for every student with the expectation that every student is college bound. For the past 12 consecutive years, 100% of IDEA seniors have been accepted to college. IDEA isn't slowing down. By 2022, they plan to operate more than 150 schools in 10 regions, preparing 100,000 students with the skills and tools they need to succeed in college and beyond. Congratulations to Tom Torkelson, Joanne Gamma, and IDEA Public Schools, 2018 Hall of Fame inductees.
You're simply the best. Better than all the rest.
It's nice to have a paid fan club.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Did you pick that song?
I think Anna got her music confused
with the Valley
ours.
music, yeah.
No, yes, of course I picked that song, because we're at the National Charter Conference, and if there's one song that embodies the people in this room today, come on, it's Tina Turner and Simply the Best.
It's true. Very true.
Well, thank you. I know it's been said once, twice, 5 times, but we'll say it again. Congratulations and thank you so much to Nina Reese and to Angela Kristoff and the entire team of the National Alliance, not only for putting on a great conference, but for putting it on in the great state of Texas. I also want to take a moment and thank the first teachers who I ever had, my mother and father, who are in the audience today. Thank you, Mom. Thank you, Dad. You're the real Hall of Famers. And my biggest cheerleader, the best physician in the state of Texas, and the fastest triathlete in the Torkelson household, my wife, Nina Torkelson, sweetheart. Okay. And when Joanne and I set off to create these schools so many years ago, we weren't just creating schools that were good enough for somebody else's kids. We were creating schools that were good enough for our children also. And since kindergarten, my now 8th grade son, Lincoln, who just finished his year as student body president, is in the audience from Idea McAllen. Thank you, Lincoln. My soon-to-be 5th grader and future World Cup soccer star, Liam, and our darling 6-year-old Gwendolyn Torkelson. Of all the 55,000 students and alums that we have, that I work with every day, these 3 have taught me the most.
So I want to thank my husband, who makes me better at my job every single day, and who just believes so passionately in our mission. And I truly believe that the most important decision you'll ever make in your life is who your partner is and who you spend it with. So thank you to my husband, Juan, who's in the audience. And to both my kids, Gael and Jimena, also IDEA students who have to put up with mommy knowing all of their data and all of their teachers very, very well, and they can't get anything past me. And to my parents who drove up from Houston today, who are my biggest fans and my biggest cheerleaders and IDEA's biggest Facebook fan, for always being there for me and for always being with me. And I'll emphasize, what Anna said earlier, is that today I recognize my privilege in being here on stage and having my kids and my parents with me, because it reminds me of the thousands of families on our border who have been separated and the thousands of kids who are trapped in detention centers and don't have that same comfort. And so as you're reading the news, as you're commenting on social media, I asked you to actually take a moment and pause and really commit to taking some action, whether it's in time, money, resources, or advocacy, because everyone in this room is about kids, and there are a lot of kids right now that really need us. While we are on stage being inducted into the Hall of Fame, the real Hall of Famers are all of the IDEA team and family that work so hard every day in the pursuit of kids. And so we feel like it wouldn't be right to accept this award without having a few of our team members actually join us on stage, because they're the ones who lead and do the very important work. So we'd like to ask some IDEA team members to join us.
All right, Ernie, a little faster. Come on. You're holding things up.
So we started IDEA 18 years ago on the second floor of the First Baptist Church in Donna, Texas. And we started with a simple promise to parents. You stick with us, and we'll stick with you. And I promise that I will get your son, your daughter, into college. Those 11-year-old students that we launched with are now older than we were when we launched IDEA Public Schools. And they and their classmates have done what many have thought was impossible for low-income minority students. They've succeeded in college, and they're now engineers and physicians and educators right here in Austin and at countless other IDEA schools. They started the tradition of 100% college acceptance and 100% college matriculation. And this year, for the 12th year in a row, we'll have 11 out of those 12 classes ensure that 100% of our students step foot on a college campus.
But, you know, it's not just those students whose lives have been transformed, it's the entire community. When we look at the Rio Grande Valley, home to the poorest and third poorest counties in the United States of America, we have seen that a strong charter movement really rises and lifts the tide for all students, not just those who are attending high-performing charter schools. In the Rio Grande Valley right now, 11 of the top 100 high schools in the United States of America are in our communities, and only half of them are ours. That means that through competition, through cooperation, through partnering, through showing the way, we've been able to increase the education quality level for hundreds of thousands of students that will actually never step foot into a charter school. And in fact, there is no place better to be born low income in the United States than in the Rio Grande Valley. If you are born into a poor family, a family of modest means in the RGV, you are 3 times more likely to graduate college than if you're born in the same set of circumstances right here in Austin, one of the wealthiest cities in the state of Texas. And so, we opened up our first schools out of the valley in 2012 in San Antonio and Austin, and we assumed that our stellar results would speak for themselves. And for the most part, they have. Thanks to Rolando's leadership, the 20 schools in San Antonio now, and all of the teachers, of course, as well, are among the highest performing schools in San Antonio. And the soon-to-be 10 schools in Austin, from the moment they opened, were the highest performing schools in those communities. We assumed that that would be enough. But our success mobilized political opposition. And before we knew it, forces beyond our control closed the first school in Austin that we began before it even had a chance to take root.
To combat the political and PR assault that we faced in Austin, we shared data and charts, and testimonials from parents and kids, but we were up against a very sophisticated operation that in fact didn't want what was best for kids, and instead had a single objective, and that was to shut down a school, specifically our school. They were better, they were savvier, and they were smarter at the time at the political game than we were. And so that same year that our school was the most successful school serving low-income students in that community, the union mustered support to close us.
But the story has a happy ending, thanks to the support of a lot of people, including Eric and Rainey and Kate Harslam, and the $20 million they provided shortly after that happened. We are coming back stronger than ever. When they closed down that campus, they severed the non-compete clause that we had signed, so they didn't want a little bit of IDEA. They got a lot of IDEA now with 10 schools this fall. So way to go, IDEA Austin. When your back is to the wall, when the political opponents come at you, that is not the time to shrink from a fight. That is the time to stand up and do what is right for your students, for our students, all across the United States of America.
So, today, as a sector, we're facing intense scrutiny. And this is not the time to retreat, and it's not the time for us to apologize for the schools that we operate and for the schools that we run. We actually believe it is the time for us to get bigger and stronger and better at telling our story to lawmakers of every political party. How many of you are working and operating a great public school?
Every hand better go up.
It's time for you to open more schools. And if you don't want to open another school, it's time for you to reach out and support those in the community who do want to get a school started. If you have a network of schools in one city, it's time for you to think about opening in another city. And if you are not in Texas, it's time for you to think about coming to the great state of Texas, which has 5.5 million kids, with hundreds of thousands of them in need of high-quality public schools. We have to grow our sector so that the size of the solution matches the scale of the problem that we're facing, and so that our size will give us the strength and the influence to fight back against forces that are working to steal opportunity and hope that we all collectively are offering to the children in our schools.
Well, Joanne and I have what we think is an exciting announcement today to help everybody in that effort to get bigger, to get better, and to get faster and really scale up. And that is with the help of the Laura and John Arnold Foundation, from the Charter School Growth Fund, from the Walton Family Foundation. We're announcing a new initiative today where Joanne and I will do what so many leaders did for us when we were starting 20 years ago, what Mike and Dave from KIPP did for us, what Doug and Daisha from Achievement First did for us, what Don Shelby from from Aspire Schools did for us, what countless others did, which is help a couple of educators with a lot of energy and big dreams, but not much else, they helped us create a playbook. You know, we added a couple plays of our own, we innovated a little bit, but today, Joanne and I are thrilled to announce the Scaling Up Institute, where we will be working with 10 CEOs and their intact teams from the best charter schools, the highest growth networks, the most promising small schools that also have big dreams, so that we can help you scale up to 3, 5, 7, 10 times your current. And I think we have a slide right there. You can go to our website right there, and you can put your name in and help us join the efforts, as Joanne said, to make sure that we have a solution that is matching the scale of the problem that we're facing.
So thank you to all of our team and family who are here with us today. And lastly, thanks to the tens of thousands of students and families who took a bet on us 18 years ago and enrolled their students at Idea Public Schools. This is for them. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
We have extraordinary people who we have acknowledged and honored today. Congratulations again to Makita and Ying, Ana and Camino Nuevo, and Joanne and Tom and Idea Public Schools. Extraordinary people. This is what we're about, and this is success that we're creating, all of us together. Also like to thank our sponsors, Strata Education Network, Stayer University, and our Hall of Fame sponsor, Baird. And with that, we'll break for the state meetings and happy hours. I'm sure you're all waiting for that. And we'll have fun tonight. We'll see everyone here again bright and early tomorrow for the breakout sessions beginning at 8 a.m. and our general session at 11. And tomorrow we'll announce where we're going to have next year's conference. So you all want to know about that, so you can get ready. Thank you, everyone. Good afternoon.
call love. I just can't handle it, this thing called love. I must get around to it. I ain't ready. Crazy little thing called love. This thing called love, it cries in a cradle all night. It swings and it jives, it shakes all over like a jellyfish. I kinda like it. Crazy little thing called love. There goes my baby. She knows how to rock and roll. She drives me crazy. She gives me hot and cold fever, then she leaves me in a cool, cool sweat. I gotta be cool, relax, get hip, get on my track, take a back seat, hitchhike, take a long, long ride on my motorbike until I'm ready. Crazy little thing called love. Gotta be cool, relax, get a hip, get on my track, take a back seat, a hitchhike, take a long, long ride on my motorbike until I'm ready. Crazy little thing called love. There goes my baby. She knows how to rock and roll. She drives me crazy. She gives me hot and cold fever, then she leaves me in a cool,